Do you want to go all the way in the corner? Right there. I don't need to be all the way up to my parents. We're pretty okay. We're good. Yeah.
Friends, at this time we are going to begin services. I'll ask if anyone has a cell phone or any other noise-making device, if you would take a moment now, please, to turn it off or place it in the silent mode. Just a quick note with regard to today's service. Following the service today, the family is going to be together at Chicago Jewish Funerals, 8851 Skokie Boulevard in Skokie today from 3:30 to 8:30 p.m. For those of you who are joining us via the live stream, that information is available on our website. And for those of you who are joining us here today, that information is available inside the folders that you received today. Officiating our services today is Dolores' son Larry Nathanson.
Thank you all so much for joining us today. It's a very meaningful day. I'm gonna call a few people up who have some brief passages to read and some things to say. But I just wanted to say that one of the things about my mom, which I'll talk about in a few minutes, is that she had a very specific way that she wanted to die. She really wanted to be in her apartment, surrounded by her. Oh, okay. There is no need to apologize, Marlene.
I didn't hear what he said.
He loves you.
Yeah.
He said he
That's
loves
exactly
you.
right.
Thank you. Just go to your back.
She wanted to be in her apartment, surrounded by her lifelong curated things, and it's a real tribute to my sister and her husband Des that was made possible. There are a lot of other people here that is true for as well. My cousin Ian and Norma, and my cousin Karen, and all of their families. My cousin Arnie, who's here. She was an extraordinary woman, and so first I would like to please ask Des, my sister Barbara's husband, to read a poem that he's selected for today.
Good morning, everyone. One of the things that I experienced with Dolores was probably the most meaningful times that we had together was when we were driving from her home to our home, when I was a captivated audience and sometimes felt a captured audience. But it was a great time when she would just talk about things that were important to her. And of course, top of her list were her kids. So I got to know a lot about her kids, not because they shared things with me, but because she spilled the beans on them. But for the most part, she spoke very highly of them and loved them greatly. The other part of our conversation was talking about her interest in the arts, music, books that she had read. And in those conversations, again, I was just quietly listening and enjoying the ride home. Sometimes it took longer because of traffic, and that was okay. But when she would inquire from me that my interest, and I told her at one point that I really loved a certain Irish poet whose name is John O'Donoghue, and she said, I've never heard of him, and she asked me if I would read her some of his poems, and I have to confess that I never did that. So this morning I'd like to fulfill that promise to her and read this poem by John O'Donoghue, and it's titled For a New Beginning. I feel it really speaks to her life and her life now. In out-of-the-way places of the heart, where your thoughts never seek to wander, this beginning has been quietly forming, waiting until you were ready to emerge. For a long time it has watched your desire, feeling the emptiness growing inside you, noticing how you willed yourself on, still unable to leave what you had outgrown. It watched you play with the seduction of safety and the great promises that sameness whispered, heard the waves of turmoil rise and relent, wondered would you always live like this. Then the delight when your courage kindled and out you stepped onto new ground, your eyes young again with energy and dream, a path of plenitude opening before you. Though your destination is not yet clear, you can trust the promise of this opening. Unfurl yourself into the grace of beginning that is at once your life's desire. Awaken your spirit to adventure. Hold nothing back. Learn to find ease with risk. Soon you will be home in a new rhythm, for your soul senses the world that awaits you.
Thank you, Des. The next person that I would like to call up is Dolores' granddaughter. My daughter, Stella Mlin Nathanson. Why don't you come up? Can I stand here with you?
Sure. Hi, I'm Millie. You can call me Stella or Millie. When I found out that Grandma Dee died, the first thing I did was pull out the bag under my bed and open my phone. The bag under my bed has all the letters that people have written to me over the years, and my phone has all my saved voicemails. She left a voicemail on my phone every single week, without fail. Most of the time, they were short and sweet, just like my grandma, but sometimes she would speak into the phone for a couple minutes, and those are my favorite ones to listen to. She ended most of them by saying, "Love you, love you, love you, bye," as if one love you wasn't enough. She has also written me a letter at least every other day, every single summer that I've spent at Sleepaway Camp since I was 10 years old. Most of them are on top of old to-do lists, but some of them are on stationery. These are only some of them that she sent me this past summer. To be honest, her classic Nathanson script handwriting was never easy to read. And while I often missed a couple words as I read them, the last few lines were always as clear as day. Always a variation of much love and kisses, XOXO, Grandma Dee. Sometimes, I love you, XO, Grandma Dee. Or I love you, always and forever, XOXO, I love you, love, Grandma Dee. Again, as if one I love you wasn't enough. If there was one thing Grandma Dee did, it was making sure I always knew how much she adored me. My grandma was a passionate, caring, and eccentric woman. She always had something to say about what I was learning in history, reading in English, or playing in orchestra. She enjoyed music, architecture, her friends and family, all of you. Her last letter from this past summer was signed in a way that I would like to leave you all with today. Love, love to you, enjoy it all. XOXO, Grandma Dee. I'm sure she wants us all to enjoy it all. Remember that she loves us. And she would probably tell us to tell those we care for that we love them, not once, but twice, or even 3 times, before we say goodbye on a voicemail, seal a letter, or leave for the day. Her memory is a blessing, and I am so thankful to have had Dolores as my grandma for almost 18 amazing years. I love, love, love you, Grandma Dee.
I stand here with all of you today ready to speak about my mother. I I'm not just speaking for myself. I speak for my family. My brother Jeff and his partner Hope, Barbara, and her partner Des, Linda, and her partner Kim, and his children, Eric, Vance, his partner Giselle, and my wife, Lisa, and my daughter, Mlin, Cookie's beloved granddaughter. I typically find words to be enough, usually, but I need to acknowledge that standing here with all of you at my mother's graveside, it's hard to know exactly what words and what stories I can use to best draw, fill in the detail, and paint just who she was. She is and was an extraordinarily dynamic, ferocious woman, educator, arts patron, and mother. One way to think about her is to recognize what her life circumstances were and how they must have informed and influenced that life force. She was literally born as a period in our own country's history was starting and lasted for the first full decade of her life, the Great Depression. She lost her own father to suicide during that decade at the age of 7. She lost her beloved brother to a car accident at the age of 19 or 20. She met my dad. She started a family. She helped him start a thriving printing business called Gamut Press, and she helped him run and get elected to the local school board. If we were living today, if it was them living today, I would imagine she would have won. That would have ran. They were married for 11 years before he passed at the age of 36. She was 35. My wife believes that my mother and father knew that they had limited time, and they squeezed a lifetime into those 11 years. My siblings and I are living legacies to them. We literally squeezed in just before this finish line, and as the youngest, I barely made it myself. I'm eternally grateful for their willingness to forge ahead, no matter what was coming. I just wanted to say a few other things about her life collection. Words fail to describe just what that collection is. We've spent the last several days actually starting to go through her things and be in her apartment, and it's best to create it to refer to it as a curated collection. It's a collection of objects dedicated to her lifelong passions. Travel. She was an intrepid traveler, exploring other world cultures, a dedication to Native American culture, and of course, her devotion to the arts. Passions that she pursued really up to her final breaths. And toward the end, she needed help to make that happen. And I really want to acknowledge all of those people that I have already who are here today that helped her and assisted her and were harangued by her in order for this to happen. So I'd just like to say, Barb and Des, thank you, and Norma and Ian and their families, and Karen and her family, and everyone here who called her, my brother and my sister Linda. The one thing, I have so many different things I wanted to say, and I wasn't sure what were the right, precise things to say. And one of the things I was aware of about when I thought about my mom is that she insisted that she was an atheist. And I believed her, I really did. But there were a lot of people who would talk to her about it, and she was happy to have that conversation. And I realized when I was thinking about her, she did have a code. And it's a pretty powerful code to think about for somebody who's dedicated their lives to the arts. This is this code as I see it. Do you have a story to tell? And can you tell it well enough so that it can make me laugh? And more recently, can I hear you tell it? Do you have a song with lyrics that are thought-provoking and interesting and maybe beautiful to listen to, but that's not the most important thing? And if you're going to build a building, are you going to build a building on par with the genius architects I adore? Her questions to me, even recently, about a new building that was opening up at the museum that my wife works at, were just endless questions about the exhibit space, about the exhibit walls. I mean, she really had this incredible sense of architecture, and I'm not quite sure why it was always so fascinating to her. And the one last piece of code was, are you going to choreograph a dance and perform a dance that will capture my imagination and allow me the experience of watching it and allow my body to feel what it would feel like to move in that way? And one of the last things I want to say, at the school where I'm an educator, we give an award to graduating students that my colleagues and I award to the student we feel is most dedicated to something we call lifelong learning. Dolores Nathanson personified lifelong learning. She taught for nearly 30 years, first and second grade. She volunteer docented and led tours for the Chicago Architectural Society, volunteering the Chicago Cultural Center, and ushering for every single solitary theater here in this city. Over the course of our relationship, she would spend hours telling me about every performance of each play, each opera, each symphony, each art exhibit, and ballet that she attended. And when I thought about it, and we tried to add it up with my siblings, we feel that she I'm probably wrong, I probably underestimated, that she taught and made an impression on over 1,000 students in her lifetime. And then lastly, because of who I am, I chose a Shakespeare passage that I thought was fitting for her. I'm not a traditionalist when it comes to Shakespeare, so I've changed the gender. All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one woman in her time plays many parts. Her acts being 7 agents. At first the infant mewling and puking in the nurse's arms, then the whining schoolgirl with her satchel and shining morning face, creeping like snail unwillingly to school, and then the lover, sighing like furnace, with a woeful ballad made to her mister's eyebrows. Then a soldier full of strange oaths and bearded like the pard, jealous in honor, sudden and quick in quarrel, seeking the bubble reputation even in the cannon's mouth. And then the justice and fair round belly, and with good capon lined, with eyes severe and beard of formal cut, full of wise saws and modern instances. And so she plays her part. The 6th age shifts into the lean and slippered pantaloon, with the spectacles on nose and pouch on side, her youthful hose well saved, a world too wide for her shrunk shank and her big womanly voice. Turning again towards childish treble, pipes and whistles in her sound. Last scene of all that ends this strange, eventful history is second childishness and mere oblivion. Sans teeth, sans eyes, sans taste, sans everything. We love you, Mom. Now I'd like to invite my cousin Ian to lead us in prayer. We all have this in our programs.
So, as Larry said, my Aunt Dolores was a definite atheist. However, just sort of, it's never a bad idea to cover your bases. So just in case she was wrong, I'm going to read the Mlin in Hebrew, and then we'll all read it in English. El Mole Rachamim, Shochen Bermromim, Tamtse Menucha, Nechana Al Kanfei Hashechina, Ma'alot Kadoshim, Harim, Kazohar, Harakia, Mazhirim, Et Yishmach, Rivka, Bat, Ruth and Julius. Shahalcha La'olama Ba'avor, Shanadvu Tzedaka, Ba'ad Hazkarat Nishmata. Bagan Eden, Tehei Menuchata, Lachin Baal Harachamim, Yatzirha, B'tzeter, Kanafav La'olamim, V'yitzror, B'tzror, Hachayim, Et Nishmata, Adonai Hu, Nachalata, V'tanach, V'tanuach, B'shalom Al Mishkava, B'nomar, Amen. And everybody in English on your pamphlet. O God, full of compassion, thou who dwellest on high, grant perfect rest beneath the sheltering wings of thy presence, among the holy and pure who shine as the brightness of the firmament, unto the soul of Dolores B. Nathanson, who is gone unto eternity. Lord of mercy, bring her under the cover of thy wings, and let her soul be bound up in the bond of eternal life. God's possession and may they repose in peace. Amen.
I think we now, Jackie will tell us what's happening, but we're going to say the mourner's Kaddish after we've all had a chance to take part in the ritual of, in the next ritual.
I'm going to invite her 4 children to come forward at this time. We're going to place some earth from Israel into the grave.
I think Bonnie Jean is here though. Really? In the mausoleum. It's gotta be, because she's in a mausoleum. It's gotta be here. Yeah, I have to look. I actually have it. No, they're at Shalom. Of course, I know that. Yeah. And you only, I believe that she's in the mausoleum. How can we find out? I can look at home. I've got the, I have the thing from the cemetery. With her pictures.
Good.
She was,
How are you?
I want to say 1936 or 1936. Because it,
For your dad's
13
funeral,
years is
I
what I
watched.
remember.
I tried
I
to
was told
record it.
13 years.
You
But
have,
so, you know,
you guys have a recording. Yeah, I can send it to you. It was Linda. They were traveling. They were right. And I thought I had recorded it, but it didn't work. Yeah, no, I have a link. So you guys were great. Very funny. Dad would have appreciated it. I was assuming
I'm getting my exercise in, not getting blown over.
Does Mom want to come over? Oh, sorry, hon.
It's okay.
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Good to see you.
Yes, I do.
Mom,
It was Sarah.
do you want to go? Yes. Yes.
Mom? Do you, Ma?
She wants the little.
Yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, I did. I can just walk over.
Really rough. Oh my God, your family's been rough.
It's okay.
That was great.
She looks like quality over here.
Good. Well, that's one good thing.
The stigma's gone.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Right.
How are you?
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, your mom is here. Yeah. I mean. Imagine the trimming of your brain.
Hi.
I'm still her generation.
For 52 years. That seems like a long time.
And friends, once you've had a moment to place Earth in the Gray, we'll ask you to make your way back over to the tent, either around or underneath, so that we can gather for the final prayer of the mourner's cottage.
I heard about you all the time. I asked about you. I know you're full of dreams. I thought about Tuesday.
There was no talking to your grandma without hearing about Karen, did you guys hear about the call back in the fence? Got it.
Yes.
No, I did not. All right. Maybe it's going to be the
I'm going to go this way.
this way.
Can I get you?
I'll grab the pole. Oh, God, the joys of aging.
I know. I'm sure it's not pleasant.
No, it sucks, as I told my grandson. I hate all the commotion.
You.
This is not. Yeah, this is
Leo has grown a foot since we've seen him. Leo has grown a foot, a full foot, since we've seen him. I mean, right? Without a doubt.
Oh, later. Right?
And friends, again, at this time, we are going to conclude our services with the
Saved the
final prayer
letters.
of the mourner's
I-
cottage.
That's why I'm.
She hears it.
Yisgadal, Yisgadash, Shemei Rabbah. Bi'alma Divara Pirusei, Bayimlik Mafusei, B'chayekon, U'kamekon, Chaye B'chal Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala, Uzman Kari V'imru, Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mubarak, Bi'alam B'lamei Amaya. Yisbarach, Yishabach, Yisbahar, Yisbahan, Yisnaseh, Yisadar, Yisaleh, Yisalal, Shemei Dekudashah, Rifu, Ha'ila, Min, Kal, Brachata, Tishurasa, Tishbachata, Benechamasa, Damiran, Be'alma, Be'imru, Amen. Yehei Shlomo Rabba, Min, Shemaya, B'chaim, Aleinu, V'yalka, Yisrael, Be'imru, Amen. Aseh Shalom, B'imra, V'yaseh Shalom, Aleinu v'yalka Yisrael v'yimru. Amen.
Thank everyone who came in attendance today and who joined us via the live stream. At this time, we will be ending the live stream, and friends are welcome to return to your cars as we continue on with the final interment. Thank you.